Welcome to Psalm 38. Psalm 38 is a heavy psalm. I've given it the title heavy, and you'll see why in a second. It's a psalm where David isn't focused on the wicked or on evildoers, on his opponents or antagonists. No, the focus is slightly different. Notice what he says here: O Lord, rebuke me not in your anger, nor discipline me in your wrath, for your arrows have sunk into me, and your hand has come down on me. There's no soundness in my flesh because of your indignation. There's no health in my bones because of my sin. David here is writing about his own sin, and specifically the kind of impact that sin is having on his life at the point at which he writes this. It's interesting that we live in a culture today where if somebody confronts somebody else about a sin or about something they've done wrong, the person confronted tends to kind of project. It's not always the case, of course, but often it seems they tend to project this sense of, well, you've sinned by making me feel bad. You've sinned because I feel upset now. But the person came to that person because they'd sinned, and yet it's turned around on the other. Well, God has an amazing way by his Spirit of bringing conviction on his people. And so even if everybody that approaches is blamed for making the person feel bad, God is able to make us feel bad. And he does it lovingly. He does it because it's what needs to happen. David says here, my iniquities have gone over my head like a heavy burden. They are too heavy for me. There's a uniqueness to the weight of conviction by the Spirit of God as he shines a light on sin in our lives. There's a heaviness to that is greater than anything that we find in spiritual conflict or ministerial battles or difficulties in this world. When God decides to put the pressure on, that's a unique weight for our souls. It's something we cannot bear. So, how do we read Psalm 38? And how do we apply it? Well, I'm going to suggest just one thing for reading it. When you're reading a psalm like this that starts with a definite tone, in this case kind of heaviness, you can read it through and look for where that tone shifts. And when you find the shift in tone, it will often then shine a light back on the earlier section. Okay, so let me show you where that comes. It comes down in verse 15. I think you may decide something different as you read it, but I think in verse 15 there's a shift. But for you, O Lord, do I wait. It is you, O Lord, my God, who will answer. For I said, only let them not rejoice over me who boast against me when my foot slips. For I am ready to fall, and my pain is ever before me. I confess my iniquity. I am sorry for my sin. That's kind of what we've been looking for since verse 1, right? And it's been building and building, and the shift comes here. And so when you're reading it, look for where the tone shifts. But in terms of applying it, the temptation, I suppose, is to think that the application is all verse 18. And certainly, in one sense, it is. If there's sin, unresolved, unconfessed in your life, verse 18 is the one that you need to be responding to. Confess your iniquity, say sorry for your sin, get the issue dealt with. But I want to suggest that actually, in terms of application, we want to go back and feel the first 14 verses as well. Feel the whole thing. But we don't want to just shift to the conclusion because it's there on the page and say, right, that solves everything. Problem lifted. Actually, we're given the fullness of Psalm 38. Either to give us words for the weight that we're feeling in our own lives, if there's unconfessed, unresolved sin, if there's something between us and God, these words of this psalm can be words that we pray, words that express the feelings, the struggles, the difficulties that we're going through. Or if we don't have something burdening us, something weighing us down like this, then we can read it, we can feel it, and we can receive it as a warning. We don't want to go there. We don't want to have that kind of burden in our lives. And so keep a short account with God. Read it through, feel the shift in tone, apply it by feeling the whole thing, and allow that to do its work in your life. Please read Psalm 38. Enjoy, appreciate, and whatever the word is, and then share it with others. There may be somebody you know who needs Psalm 38 more than anything else. Pray about it and offer it to them. We'll see you next time for Psalm 39.